Are you over detailing your character design? Are you having trouble having consistency from panel to panel inside of your chapters? What looked cool in your very first illustration is a nightmare inside of chapter 18. In this video, we're going to be talking about the repeatability of your character design. How repeatable is your character? I've always made it a rule for myself to never make them too detailed. The main reason why is because I wanted them to be consistent from panel to panel. However, I also know that a lot of people that are reading manga or comics only spend maybe 2 to 3 seconds per panel unless it's like an amazing scene of some sort. So basically, wasting all of your time and energy on detailing somebody's zipper is going to be null and void whenever anybody actually reads your comic. So avoid that. And think to yourself, is this design recognizable? Here are some of my characters from Hammer. They're easy and repeatable, and they're not too detailed to where it's taking me hours to draw only one page. I'm not saying that characters that are too detailed are not a good thing to draw in an illustration, but as a comic book or a manga, it's just a waste of time, in my opinion anyway. However, Masashi Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto, actually said in an interview, after chapter 1, he came up with the ninja headband to replace the goggles he originally drew on Naruto's head because it was a pain. You can actually read that quote inside of volume 1 of Naruto. Clearly, as a mangaka that has a weekly series, it should not take you an absorbent amount of time to draw your main character over and over and over again. It's going to be a waste of time, and like I said, people that are going to be reading your manga or your comic are only going to spend about 2 to 5 seconds, probably max, on each panel that you draw. This is one of the reasons why I made my style so cartoony. I figured that was one of the easiest ways to actually make it as easy and repeatable for me. I made that decision as I was looking at all of the artists that I was trying to model my style after. I've talked about this in previous videos, but Bruce Timm was a huge influence on me. I really enjoyed the way he detailed his characters, even though they weren't actually very detailed. A prime example of this would be Batman. Clearly, his design looks different depending on which creator is actually drawing him. Their style is either very detailed or very simple or very sleek or whatever the case may be. Obviously, those creators have gotten into a rhythm where they can make things repeatable for them, but in all honesty, in my opinion, I never wanted to stress myself out with drawing a character. So again, like I said, I simplified my drawing style so that way I could make it as repeatable as possible. If you look at Batman, but drawn from Greg Capullo, or Jim Lee, or Tradd Moore, or Raphael Grandpa, these are some of the examples that I mentioned inside of my ebook. But clearly, all of those Batmans look the same and different, and it all is dictated on your own art style. If I was going to draw Batman or any character in a very detailed way, chances are I would forget something maybe on the 5th page or the 7th page. So generally speaking, I try to simplify my characters as much as possible so that way I know for a fact this is what they look like, this is how I can draw them from panel to panel, and this is why they actually are going to stand out. So my best piece of advice for you is to practice drawing your character. Clearly, at this point, you've drawn, hopefully, a bunch of sketches of your character. However, if you have a very detailed image of your character, then I want you to think to yourself, okay, how can I make this a little bit more simple? Maybe they have a button-up shirt. Do you have to have it be buttoned up? Do they have to have 7 buttons? Maybe 3 will do the trick. Are their shoes very detailed? Do they need to be that detailed in order to get the point across? These are just a few examples that I have in my head right now. However, you'll know exactly what works best for you. If detailing your characters is the style that you want to go for, then by all means. Art is subjective, and clearly you could do what you want. Just make sure that when you draw them, they stay consistent. Just make sure that you're okay with how your character looks, so that way you're not regretting decisions that you made in chapter 1 on chapter 18. And my last piece of advice for this is to create a turnaround of your character. If you draw them from the front, the side, 3/4 view, and the back, then at least you'll have reference for yourself, so that way in the future, whenever you get to another panel where he's in a different pose or she's in a different pose, you can draw them the way that they're designed to look. And hopefully you don't forget a belt buckle or a zipper or whatever the case may be. In the next section, we're going to be talking about body language, so stay tuned.